Hello everyone, it's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and today I'm going to be talking about the third episode of Star Wars Resistance. Now, this one introduces some more characters, but I'm just going to do it like I've been doing these recap reviews and just tell you guys like as if I was talking to my friends. So, episode starts out with Homeboy working on the engine, and he's all proud because he thinks that he finally fixed it, even though we all know he's not a mechanic, and he knows nothing about fixing engines, apparently. And he's like, I fixed it! And so they all come around to see that he fixed the engine. Well, guess what? Surprise! Big surprise! It doesn't work. Oh my gosh, nobody was expecting that. And so they're just kind of like, we're going to go watch the race. You need to fix this because you broke it. And so he's just like, well, I want to watch the race because I like racing. But he can't. So he's like, oh, let me just push this engine out to, the edge of this barge so I can watch the race outside. And then let me, since he's kind of absent-minded, let me just not work on the engine or pay any attention to it at all, and let me watch the race. And so what happens when there's, an engine, on the edge of a barge, which has absolutely no railing, might I add, it falls into the ocean, because they're on a barge over the ocean, and he's just like, whoa, I can't believe that happened, and it's like, well, really? Really? You didn't expect that? Whatever. Okay, fine. Doesn't expect it to happen. So they're all mad at him, of course, because, he kind of pushed the engine over the edge, or to the edge, and then it fell off the edge because he wasn't paying attention. Go freaking figure that they're mad at him. And he's upset because they're mad at him. And so he goes and he says something really bad or mean, I guess, to Yeager, the guy that took him in, that's Poe's friend, that, didn't want to take him in, but since he's a good person, Poe just kind of left the kid there, so he kind of got stuck with him. And so he's just like, you don't, give me any free time, and, I'm always just fixing these things, and I'm not a mechanic. And he's like, kid, I'm trying to keep you alive by, going with the charade, but you're making it really hard. And then the kid's just like, well, maybe I shouldn't be, with you anymore. And then he goes, and he's, having his little drink at the bar, and he's like, I shouldn't live with him anymore. And then the creeper alien's just like, you can live with me. And he's like, yeah, no thanks. Only common sense this kid has ever shown, by the way. And then, new character enters. Guess who it is? It's Elijah Wood! Elijah Wood is in the show. You would think that'd be exciting, and you'd think that'd be awesome. Frodo Baggins. So Elijah Wood pops up, and he's just like, yo, what's up? And he just conveniently happens to be a human, and conveniently happens to be about the same age as the main character. And he comes up, he's looking kind of like a mix between a cartoon version of Draco Malfoy, and then a different, this animation style version of Fred from the Scooby-Doo gang. So, and I'm just going to call him that. I'm just going to call him Fred. I can't even remember what his damn name is. So Fred walks up, and he's like, yo, what's up? I've heard so much about you. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe because he's been running around this ship for the past 2 episodes, getting chased by the little alien thug who isn't in this episode, and all the other thugs. And yeah, he did win that, or he almost won that one race. But he's like, yo, bro, I've been looking for you everywhere. I want to race too. And it's like, oh, okay, this guy's just kind of approaching me out of nowhere. He seems cool, right? Right? Well, guess what? This is a Disney show, and Disney is very, very famous for when they're using the color green to symbolize evil. If you watch any Disney movie, the villain usually has some aspect of green in their character design. The female characters usually have green eyes, and, even when Scar is on the screen, the fire behind him, it's not red, it's green, because Disney uses green to signify evil. This character walks up looking like Draco Malfoy, Slytherin, known as not the best character. Green eyes. Piercing green eyes, might I add. He comes up, is Disney, and he's kind of shady. He's just like, yo, let me take you back. Let me introduce you to my crew. We just kind of hang in the back. By the way, I want to be a racer too, so let me ask you all these really in-depth personal questions about you and your work and the people that you work with and what kind of equipment that you guys have. That's not shady at all. Let me just ask you all of these questions, and you can be naive and just tell me everything. And so they're just kind of talking. He introduces them to his gang. There's the ginger, and then there's the alien, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, you know what, we don't really like to work that much. We like to have days off. We're not droids. We don't work all the time. It's like, well, a normal person over here is just kind of like, oh, well, you want to be the best but you aren't willing to put the work in, and you kind of brag about how you don't like working and how you're, you know, kind of lazy, to be completely honest, and you just kind of want to know all this other guy's secrets. Well, if you want to actually learn the secrets, you can watch, learn from observation. This guy that you want to get all this information from works really hard, and I'm not talking about the main character. I'm talking about the main guy, the one that the one that Kaz was just like, oh, you know, I don't want to live with him anymore. His name's Yeager. I always forget his name because I, you know, just have the picture in my head. So they want all this information about Yeager, and they're telling Kaz, they're like, yo, he was like an awesome pilot. That's how he knows Poe. Well, I'm assuming that's how he knows Poe. But he's an awesome pilot. He's got the best ship. He could beat everyone here if he wanted to. He just doesn't. Nobody knows why. And I'm just kind of like, you know what? Maybe it's probably because he's kind of older. He's done it. He's got it out of his system. Now he just kind of like wants to work and chill. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. He got it out of his system when he was young. He just wants to take a step back in life. Completely fine. Retirement life. Cool. You know, he's got his own company. He's got some workers. He's just, you know, mentoring and just taking it easy. There's nothing wrong with that. But they're just like, yo, can you take me and, like, show me his ship? Also, like, let's just mention this, like, little thing about how we need Carillion fuel, because apparently that'll make our ship go faster, since Disney is now obsessed with fuel. And so we need to look at his ship and then get some fuel, because apparently he has some. And this kid is dumb enough to just be like, oh, yeah, no, maybe sometime. I don't think it's the best idea. And he's like, okay, let me convince you then, shady character. He's like, come on, let's go race. I want to be a racer. You're apparently a good racer already. Let's go practice racing on these, like, hover jet ski things. And so he's just kind of like, oh, yeah, yip-de-doo, I'm making friends. We're going to go practice racing. So they get on the jet ski things. Right before they start, Fred decides to push this little button that does something to Kaz's ship. So when they're racing, he's just like, oh, you snooze, you lose, kind of rubbing it in his face. And then Kaz is like, let me do something stupid. So, like Kaz does all the time. He does something stupid. That's his signature thing. Let me think of an idea that's stupid, and then let me do it. Okay, so Kaz is just like, okay, let me do this. Let me, you know, get my jet ski hover thing and jump over your ship. And then, since the shady dude, Fred, pushed the button, it makes his engines malfunction. Which I'm just like, it seems that, like, equipment is kind of hard to find. So the fact that you're going to sabotage your own freaking jet ski hover thing doesn't seem like the greatest idea. But anyway, he does it, and then he saves his life, and is like, oh, you know, you kind of owe me because I saved your life, and you kind of broke my hover jet ski thing. So take me and let me see Yeager's ship, and, you know, let's go investigate his office. BB-8, of course, is like, no, this guy's shady, and it's like, well, really, BB-8, you're very selective. Because in the first episode, BB-8 was just like, let me just watch this guy, you know, try to be super shady and rig the whole dart thing, but let me not tell you, even though I see him hand you a trick dart. Let me just not say anything. But this guy's shady, so let me just tell you, even though he technically hasn't done anything yet, but, you know, let me just warn you about that. And of course the kid's just like, no, it's okay, he saved my life, he's cool, we're best friends, even though we've only known each other 5 minutes. Which is a popular thing in the show, that you just completely trust someone after 5 minutes knowing them. No normal person is like that. But anyway, moving on with this plot line, they go into Yeager's office, and they're sneaking around because there's a droid in there doing inventory, and they're just looking, and you see all of Yeager's trophies, and it's like, oh my gosh, he must have been really good. And then Kaz sees, like, his little holo picture of him and with all these other pilots, and he's like, oh my gosh, he was at the Battle of Jakku. And I'm just like, of course they had to throw in the Battle of Jakku because they're trying to promote, you know, their own version of the events that happened. And I was like, I was expecting something cool, like, you know, maybe the Battle of Endor, Yavin, Hoth, but no, it's Battle of Jakku. So I'm like, oh, that means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. Whatever. If you would have said, like, oh yeah, this guy, like, survived, you know, one of those ones, like, oh, let's battle against a freaking Death Star, that'd be scary. Like, I'd be worried about that. Since, you know, I don't really care about Jakku or anything that relates to it and all this Disney lore on it, I'm just like, means nothing. But anyway, he looks at it, he's like, oh, you know, he was there, that's cool, he's got all these pilot friends, they're all celebrating, and then he scrolls over and he sees he's got a wife and he's got a kid, he's like, oh no, he had a family, and now apparently he doesn't, so there, you know, something sad happened, which is probably why he is the way he is. Little plot insert right there. And then while he's doing that, Shady McShady over here is snooping around, and he sees, you know, the Carillion fuel up on, you know, you would think that if this thing is as valuable as they say it is, it'd be in a safe or something. But no, let's just have it right here on a shelf where everyone can see it with this big yellow label on it so you know exactly what it is. That's a great idea. So, he sees it, but then Droid comes back in, so they gotta hide, and they're hiding from the Droid, and you know, they're crawling around this table, and they're like, okay, let's go this way. Droid's coming, let's go this way. And Friend is just kind of like, I want to get that fuel. And so when it leaves, he grabs it, and he's like, all right, let me just take off, let me leave. And so he's like, yeah, sorry, I didn't get to see the ship, it's okay, bye, deuces. And so he takes off, and then Kaz is just kind of like, whatever, what's going on? And BB-8's just like, that was stupid! And he's like, BB-8, it's okay, I didn't even see the ship, everything's fine. Then all of a sudden, little Droid's just like, no, somebody stole the fuel! And he's like, what's the big idea? What's wrong with the fuel? And then everyone is like, oh my gosh, that's not Carillion fuel. That's this fuel that when you use it, it makes things blow up and it's horrible. That's why he has it, and he has it safe in his office. It's like, wouldn't you think that if that thing like is so unstable that it would make everything blow up, you would keep it hidden or somewhere in a more secure area that somebody can't steal it? But anyway, the shady kid got the very unstable fuel, so now Kaz is just like, I gotta go and save him, because, you know, now that I know that he stole from me, I'm gonna go save him, because I'm a good person. So he goes after him, Yeager's just like, what the heck are you doing? He's like, I gotta go save my friend from blowing up, I gotta go. So he goes, they're on the ship, you know, he's about ready to take off on the shady kid, is about to take off for the race. His friends are just like, yeah, you're going to win. You got that fuel. It's going to make your ship go faster. This is going to be awesome. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the best of the best that there is. And by the way, a few scenes back, his friends were talking about how they took out all the unnecessary systems in his ship so that way it would go faster. And he talks about how he built the ship with all of his savings and everything, and he put all of this work into it. Which you would think, starting off, if you're going to build this from scratch yourself, you're not going to put everything that's unnecessary in your eyes in this ship so that way it can go faster. Just like freaking Anakin Skywalker did in The Phantom Menace. But anyway, if the people that wrote this actually had seen a movie or read a book, they might know that, but apparently not. So, this kid's about to go fly. He doesn't have all the necessary systems. Have to include that before I explain this. So then he's about to go, Kaz gets there, and he's like, no, stop! So gets past his friends, he's like, he can't, it's gonna explode. And they're just kind of standing there like, huh? You know, nobody thinks to have, you know, a walkie system where you can talk to the pilot and just be like, yo, crazy dude that you stole from is here, and he's saying that the fuel isn't fuel, it's gonna blow up your ship. Get the heck out of there, stop. But no, apparently no one has any comm systems or anything. So Kaz jumps on the ship that's about to take off. He goes and he runs across the ship to the little hatch. He opens it from the outside, apparently, and he gets in the little cockpit that's made for one person. He's like, get out of the ship! And he's like, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because this kid doesn't know about the fuel. He's just like, this guy's crazy and trying to rip me out of the ship, even though I'm shady and I stole from him. But anyway, Kaz is trying to get him, but they've already taken off because they're on the race. And he's like, we gotta get out! And he's just like, what are you doing, bro? What's going on? Why are you on top of me breaking into my ship when I'm about to race? And then Kaz ejects the seat so that way they go up in the air because he knows the ship's gonna explode. And guess what happens? Oh my gosh, 2 seconds later the ship explodes in the middle of the race. And so they're shooting up over the ocean, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, that fuel is unstable, I saved you. And he's like, what? And then they're going up higher and higher, and Kaz is like, where's the parachute? He's like, I took it out because it was too heavy. And he's like, oh my god, bro, what? Why? We're gonna die. And it's like, well, technically you're over an ocean, so yeah, it's gonna hurt you when you hit it. But I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping you both can swim. Anyway, Homeboy took out the parachute, so they're falling. They're gonna die, apparently. And then, of course, BB-8 comes to save them, shoots out the little wire thing, grabs a seat, starts pulling them up. But, you know, they are two, like, full-grown dudes. So BB-8's kind of like a tiny little soccer ball droid, who is also a circle, which can roll. So BB-8 starts rolling off the edge. Yeager comes to save the day and pulls them both up. And then freaking Fred, Shady McShaderson, is just like, bro, what the heck? You blew my ship. I put all my heart and soul and all my money into that, and it like blew up. What the heck were you thinking? It's like, and then Kaz is just like, the only logical thing that he ever says is like, what, you stole from me and now you're getting mad at me? And he's just like, whatever, you made another enemy. Which, apparently Kaz is great at doing, and he's no closer to finding the spy because, you know, a spy isn't going to go and start mischief. They're going to sit back and observe everything. That way they can get as much information as possible. But Kaz has a tendency to attract the most shady people, which, I mean, they're doing this on purpose to get plot. To get what they think is a plot. But this episode was really to introduce this new character and then to show a bit of Yeager's backstory so that way you can grow that emotional attachment to him because you know about his past, you know that he had a family and he lost it. And then Yeager's just like, well, I told you have to like kind of stick to the shadows, but now, you know, we got eyes on us because the head person of the bar just like staring right at us because you just caused all this drama. So congratulations. And then he's just like, okay, well, you gotta get back to work and clean the tools. So he goes back and he's like, but you gotta do it outside so you can watch the race. So he's all happy because he gets to watch the race. And it's just like, okay. People said that this episode was better, and I was hopeful that they were right, but at the same time, I'm just like, If anything, that episode was way more predictable, and not, like, it didn't capture me. Like, I was bored when I was watching this one, too. And people can use the argument that it is for children, but at the same time, you can use that as the Clone Wars were for children. That is still interesting. Most Disney movies that came out, you know, during the 90s, 80s, earlier, you know, those were aired at kids too, but if you actually ask Walt Disney will say no, Disney is not a kids, like, company, it is a family company, so that way you can enjoy it at all ages. So the excuse that this is for kids, that's kind of a cop-out, and that's not a acceptable excuse, because Disney's motto that Walt Disney set down is that this is for families so that everyone of all ages can enjoy. And don't use that excuse of dumbing things down to defend why your stuff isn't good and lacking in story. So, I mean, that's what happened in this episode. There's no first order or anything, but we'll see where this goes from here. It'll probably be one of those things where throughout this first season that they do an episode about each character so you can learn more about them and whatnot. And we won't find out too much about the actual plot until, like, the season finale. Which, cool. We'll see. But that's it for today, everyone. So have a great rest of your day. And may the Force be with you because we are going to need it.